Now, I'm much older than you ladies, but my generation benefits from all what was been going on with building more affordable houses. Or no, is it really far? Do you think that a generation like mine will benefit from all these developments we're having in affordable housing? Or no, we're, as Kate said, we're decades away, and probably the earliest to feel the fruition of all these new developments, affordable developments coming on the market is probably 10 years from now. So by then we've been.
Yeah, I mean, I would point to Sarah's, the thing she said earlier about aging in place. And I think that's something we've seen recommendations from, I'm not making any assumptions about how old you are, but we've seen we've seen recommendations from the AARP. They have a huge ADU guideline because they recognize the benefit of this greater flexibility of housing options that we're trying to introduce into communities for seniors. Seniors are
Mhm.
some of the people who benefit most, like most from affordable housing, either because they're on fixed incomes and it's really hard to afford housing as rents skyrocket, or like we said, they're in these like huge homes that they had for when they had a family and want to be able to downsize but literally don't have options to downsize into. My mother-in-law was like, I would love to just live in like a two-bedroom condo, but like why would she do that when her rent or her house payment would be the same as it was for her enormous four-bedroom home that she raised her family in? Why would she downsize? There's no incentive to do so. And it's because those condos are so rare that they're actually hot commodities. So really what we're trying to do when we introduce that wider variety of housing options is to it serves a wider variety of people, including seniors who, as we know, are this enormously growing portion of our population. And when millennials become seniors, we want options too, because we're another huge generation. I think when people think of people who are cost burdened or rent burdened, they're thinking of like a young professional right out of college, but seniors are enormously rent burdened in this country.
I'm actually living in the exact case study that Kate described. So my mom was in a similar position. We have had a home in Washington since 2000, and it was for our family and too large for her. And she wanted to downsize, and she had sort of retired and closed up her business. And rather than her paying for a more expensive condo that she really couldn't afford, we split our home into two separate units. And if you hear any construction, it's because it's currently wrapping up construction on making that happen. But my husband and I now have an affordable home to live in, and it's a great size for us. It's 1,600 square feet for us. And my mom has a separate level all for herself that's the same size, and we're able to stay on our family's property. She's able to stay with the garden that she's been cultivating for 20 years that she loves. And we have the benefit of a multi-generational household too, which is something that we've gotten away from in this country, and I think is actually a really important component to the way that we live as people. And so there's just a lot of benefits for all different levels of generations to have this housing type and to share it with one another.
But it required that Bellingham made that a legal housing type, because that
Correct.
arrangement is not legal in the city I live
No.
in.
Oh,
You're not
really?
allowed to have two
Ah,
kitchens in one dwelling unit, like one dwelling.
gosh,
So
that's just
planning and
regulated.
zoning immediately impacts how feasible all these housing types are.
I'm the
Interesting.
house that I am in now, we purchased a year ago because we want to subdivide it into two properties and add a whole new house on the front half with an ADU attached to it. And then add it potentially down the line if my husband lets me an ADU in our backyard so that we can, to Leah's point, have that flexibility if and when one of our parents needs to come live with us and have the benefit of them living with us and helping raise our children. That multi-generational living is so important. And on the other property, we can provide another home in a very desirable area that's a mile walking distance to schools in downtown for another family that's not available right now. And that if we design it at a size and in a way, it could be held at a different price point that allows somebody that's just at a different income level to live here as well. And so there's so many benefits, and it's exciting to live them out on a personal side as we do it professionally as well.
Yeah, I wish I can have a similar setup. This is a perfect setup that you ladies are after. It's fantastic. Here's the thing. The rumor has it that women are better architects. All in favor, raise your hands.
Women have a different approach.
We like the way that we do it better.
And 100% recognize that we need men, we need everybody. We need a whole variety, and that's the brainchild behind Leah's business model, is that we're just providing another opportunity, a different way of practicing that wasn't available before, that is in high demand. And it's not that other firms are wrong, they're just doing it their way, and that works for some people, and our way works for us and for our people. And we just need more of that.
I can't help but ask it. Is it discriminative to have a men-only architecture firm?
Of course, and it would be discriminatory to have a women-only architecture firm too. We have a male employee. I mean,
that's true, but I'd say there are plenty of male-only architecture firms, and there have been for like 100 years. The majority of architecture firms to begin with were all men, and there's still a massive disparity between the number of women, practicing, particularly in leadership roles. So I think if you're intentionally excluding people, that's a problem.
Correct.
And
all kidding aside, Architects FORA, is Architects FORA a women-only architecture firm?
No.
No, we are 100% women owned, but we are all about hiring really passionate, value-aligned people who do great work and believe in the work that we do, and have benefited from being able to hire a very diverse team in a number of different ways. And we're not all women. As Kate said, we do have a male employee on our team as well.
Do you get challenged for being who you are? Certain customers.
We thought we were going to. We were really very timid about portraying ourselves as 100% women owned and leaning into what we called the feminist practice in architecture, and that made us a little uncomfortable. We were concerned about how people would feel about that and our clients, and it's sort of been the opposite of our fears, to be honest. Yeah, our clients have really embraced working with a different type of team, a different type of leadership, and have been very positive and receptive to the change in ownership of our firm. We mentioned we used to be OJK Architecture and Planning. That was owned by Jerome King, the founder, for 40 years, who of course is a man. And so transitioning from the solo male, architect to 3 young women running this practice now was a big change. And that's, I think, where we felt the most timid about how we were going to portray ourselves as this new company. But no, our clients have been great. They've welcomed us and have been really excited about who we are and what we're doing now. And they also have requirements for building out more diverse teams and partners that they work with. So it's just, things are changing.
Well, I'm very happy to hear so. This is really, really good to hear. And do you know what is the percentage today between men versus women being architects or pursuing an architecture career?
Yeah,
I think pursuing a degree in education is pretty close to 50-50. The number of
has it always been like that?
No. This is in the past probably 5 to 10 years, it's gotten closer to half and half. The number of AIA architects, I believe it's like 25% women and 75% men. And then you get into the number of firm owners and leaders, and that percentage drops even further between men and women. So the disparity between genders increases as you go from student to licensed to becoming sort of senior leadership. And that's where we still have issues, is really in the practice realm. And that's why I was very passionate about focusing on building a practice differently that would combat some of those challenges.
Very interesting. And do you think the industry is paying newly graduated architects? I mean, I'm saying newly graduated, but honestly, in the greater context, could apply to anyone. Do you think engineers, architects are getting paid fairly in today's world?
Ours are.
Yeah, ours are, but no. We made actually, engineers are better. They do better than architects. When we were looking at the
I didn't know that.
Yeah. We were looking at national average salaries for newly graduated architects versus engineers, and found there's about a $20,000 salary difference from like a national level between the two, and felt like, we should be able to pay our emerging architects as much as emerging engineers are paid. And so we intentionally set a minimum baseline salary that was equivalent to our professional peers, because it just didn't seem right that architects are being paid so little coming out of school. So no, it's not great. It needs some work and room for improvement. There are a number of ways that firms can make that work, but we found ways that work for us, and it's not going to be the same for everyone. But I think they should study a way to be more fair and equitable and supportive for the young professionals in this industry, because otherwise we are losing them to other industries such as tech, for example, that will pay much more coming out of school. And an architecture degree is very valuable to other professions. It's a design thinking degree, and it's applicable in a number of different industries. So if we want to keep architects, particularly diverse architects in the industry, we've got to do better.
Mhm. My last three questions for you ladies. Leah, where do you see this company 10, 20 years from now? And is it a company that you want to retire in?
I love that you asked this, because we literally on Monday had our partners strategic planning retreat at Sarah's house, and revisited where we thought we would be when we first took over this practice in the next 10 and 20 years, and projected that forward again. I think we all see ourselves retiring here, and are planning for that sooner than later, looking for ways to build up a leadership pipeline to replace us, and keep the legacy of this firm going forward. Our ultimate goal for the practice, and I don't know, 10 years, probably not, 20, 30, maybe, we're hoping that affordable housing is an obsolete term, and there's just enough housing needed in this world. It's going to take us a little while to get there. So that's our mission until that happens.
That's fantastic. I wish you best of luck on this. Kate, you woke up tomorrow and you're the governor of Colorado.
Oh, please.
I got plans.
Give me the first three resolutions, the first three decisions you take.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would do is pass statewide density bonus legislation similar to what we have in California. Just incentivizing affordable housing is such an easy win. So many governments were sort of anti-housing will at least grant that they're okay with that capital A affordable housing. So making it easier for nonprofit housing developers to build projects of size that actually pencil out and are a good deal is number one. Number two, eliminate parking minimums statewide. That's like an enormous cost that people don't really talk about. There are like 4 parking spaces for every car that exists
Oh my
in the
God.
United States, and building parking is tremendously expensive and a horrible use of space. 2 parking spaces are the same amount of square footage as a 1-bedroom apartment. So are we really prioritizing 2 cars over a 1-bedroom apartment for a couple? So
can we claim that parking spaces are the cancer of affordable housing industry?
yes, absolutely. And that's another great argument for transit-oriented developments, right? Like, you do need parking if you have a project way out in a rural area, but you also aren't having the same struggle with land costs. But if you're right next to a bus line, if you're right next to a train station, you do not need 3 parking spaces for every 3-bedroom unit. That is absurd. That is patently absurd. And then, gosh, what would my third resolution be? Just allocating loads of funds to fill those gaps for affordable housing developers. I mean, I think that, money is really key to making these developments work, because it's not a market-based solution entirely, right? You are capped at those certain rent thresholds. So any funding that the state can provide to fill those gaps is going to be huge for nonprofit housing developers to continue to do all the amazing work that they do.
8 for governor.
2028.
Very
No,
interesting.
don't though, because we need you here. Don't do that.
No, but I mean, in Colorado specifically, I think, Governor Polis is
You
great
know,
on
very
housing.
It's fantastic that with the answer you gave, because very few of my guests usually have the clarity of mind to immediately come out with their plan. What needs to be, seriously, you'd be surprised.
You asked the right person.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Kate. Sarah, I think you know where I'm going with this. So,
I don't want to be governor of California. Don't ask
no,
me that.
no. It's a different question for you that I had. It's would you invest? And I have an easy part of the question and then a tougher part. The easy part is, would you invest in real estate in the Bay Area? You had money.
Yeah, we absolutely would. That's actually in our probably 5 to 10 year plan, is to build out a development arm of FORA. And we want to intentionally start small scale. So looking at, adding 4 units on a property to maybe 8 units that we develop ourselves, and we can design to complement the context of that community, but fill in those missing typologies. So we probably won't start in the Bay Area just because it's harder to pencil out, but we do absolutely want to invest. We're actively looking at opportunities up in Washington State near Leah right now. But the Bay Area would be a next step if and when things start to calculate out a little better there.
Does Architects FORA, this is a tougher part of the question, does Architects FORA present the right platform for you to build and reflect on that dream project that you've always felt is going to be a landmark in your career? When you were a student, when you were even before architecture, you always wanted to leave a mark out there. Working for Architects FORA, is it big enough?
Oh, bigger than. That's actually my statement for the 3 of us coming together. It's bigger than us. Something bigger is at work. And it's an honor and a privilege and a huge responsibility to be a part of. Honestly, I have my first housing project is about to be complete. It's about to open in January. I started on in 2019, and it's going to provide 130 new homes, and half of them will be reserved for people who are experiencing homelessness right now. They'll be moving in and they'll be fully wrapped around with support services starting in January. And I get teary-eyed thinking about them. I can't wait for them to move in. And if I'm done after that, I'm good. So yes, FORA is absolutely beyond my wildest dreams, and just really grateful we get to do this, and I get to do it with these 2 amazing women. Yeah, I'm usually the crier. Sorry, guys.
And we always end up in tears when we do these interviews together. It's just a thing.
It's a rule.
It is. That's part of being FORA. We get vulnerable. So yes.
This is incredible and very touching, for many reasons. Number one, how genuine you ladies are and what you're doing. You're in it for the good of it. It's not just a job for you. I could see the passion. I could see how genuine this is. And you rarely come across people who are really, this is what I call living the dream, being able to fulfill what you've always wanted, always aspired for since you were a little kid, a little child, and having the right platform to reflect on your feelings, emotions, plans, projections that you had for your life. And I think we're blessed to still have our elders around us as well. And I am so happy that you will be reunited very, very soon. I wish I could have them close to me, but not that far. But that's also very, very touching. And I can tell you, this is one of the best sessions I've had. Seriously, it's probably not the best. This is the amount of positive energy and genuinity of the discussion and conversation is just overwhelming in a good way. In a good way.
So sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll say thank you for this interview. You've asked some really wonderful questions that we don't often get to get into, and somehow you just know each of us and asked each of us. This was such a pleasure. We've really enjoyed being able to share different aspects of the process.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was lovely to meet
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you.
Take care.